Welcome to Total Reddit with another news story of r/paranormal. Today's story title is, A man once told me if you want a good story just ask any random person, if there was ever an event in their life they cannot explain. Someone almost always has one weird thing that has happened to them. So Reddit, regardless of whatever you believe about the world, Part 3. So this video is going to be very interesting and creepy for you, so keep watching the video till the end. Before jumping to the main part of the video, please hit the subscribe button to know when the next video goes live. A few summers ago I went prospecting/camping with my so and his dad in a national forest in southern Oregon. Our claim was miles away from the nearest town up some truly scary forestry roads. We set up camp close to a stream in a big clearing. One night we were playing cards and I heard an almost guttural scream. So and his dad had been drinking, and they were being so loud they missed it. After getting them to shut up for a second, I heard the scream again but from a different location. The second scream sounded more feminine or something like that. Anyways, that night we heard what sounded like someone putting their arms in the stream and lifting them out, over and over again. I kid you not, it sounded like something was effing washing something in that stream. We also had rocks thrown at our tent. This was the worst night of my life. I have never been so scared. It's worse, because I can't put reason behind any of those occurrences. Me and a few of my friends were going to a party out in the middle of nowhere. We got lost on this long country road. We would drive for 20 minutes, and not see a gas station, or a house, and then this imbalance comes out of nowhere, and flies past at us, and one of the doors comes open and a small cooler comes rolling out the back and almost hits us. So we turn around and stop to look for the cooler. We find it half open with some ice dumped on the ground. We open it and find a ducking human finger. So we are in a panic. We close the cooler and go about 80 miles per hour trying to get up with the imbalance. We stop at a gas station to call 911. We explain to the dispatcher what happened. She starts yelling at us for playing a prank. With 911 we are a little confused. We ask her why. She thinks we are playing a prank. She says because we don't have any imbalances out in that area. We are floored by what she said, so we think there is a mix-up on her end. So we drive to the closest hospital in the area and hand over the finger, but they have no patient with a missing finger. The hospital calls the police and we all give a statement, and we go home. About a week later a detective calls and gives me the biggest shock of my life. He says that they never found the imbalance or the person missing the finger. They checked the dispatching records, which are kept on computer and paper, and no emergency vehicles were out. Late last year I was snoozing in my room early in the morning when I stretched out in my bed, lying on my back. After about 10 seconds, I felt something tap the tip of my toe 3 times. I sat up in bed, looked around the room and saw nothing. Freaked out, I pulled myself into the fetal position, and somehow managed to fall back asleep. Later that same day, something told me not to stay in my room for the night, so I left the door open and slept in another room. My brother came home and decided to close my bedroom door. As he reached into my room for the handle, he said he heard something snarl at him. He slammed the door shut and came racing into the room I was in, completely freaked out. I didn't sleep very well that night. I once was driving in the University District of Seattle, Washington in the middle of the night, probably 1 a.m. or so. It was just me and one passenger. We aren't from Seattle, and were waiting a light to make a U-turn to find the freeway again. We were the only car at the intersection, but we waited about 3 minutes while the light was red. As soon as our light turned green, a huge marching band, presumably UWs, began to march across the intersection and into the lane we wanted to turn into. At 1 a.m. every single member was in costume, and they were not playing their instruments. It was incredibly eerie, and my passenger and I were just sitting there open-mouthed. We both remember it exactly the same, but it was one of those memories that you think, did that actually happen? Not that cool, but pretty random. Me and my mom were watching TV in the living room one sunny day. I think it was about 10 years ago or so, give or take a year or two, with the large balcony sliding glass door and shades wide open. There is not a cloud in the sky, and the sun is shining brightly. And then everything turns black. Pitch black. Not really cloudy and dark or nighttime dark, I mean black as in complete and utter lack of any type of light whatsoever. This includes the TV itself, no light from anywhere. Both me and my mother scream. And just as quickly as it disappeared, the light has returned. It was only gone for perhaps 2 or 3 seconds, but we both experienced this, so it wasn't like I suddenly went temporarily blind, or something like that. But that isn't the only weird part. The sky is a blanket of dark clouds, and it is now pouring rain. The rain only lasts for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then the sky slowly begins to return to bright sunshine. Nobody else that we know experienced the darkness, but a friend of ours did notice that almost instantly, the beautiful weather turned terrible without notice. We even checked if there was an eclipse, or something happening that day, but no, as far as any official news sources were concerned, no eclipses or bizarre weather happened that day. In '96 my grandma died. A couple of years prior, my uncle had come to town for a visit and brought his cat. During his stay my grandma accidentally let the cat outside, it bolted away and was never seen again. On the night we had the open casket showing, we came back to my grandparents' house. On the front step sitting by the door was the cat. He had an ear tattoo, it was the same cat. One time I was hanging out with 2 friends, and completely out of nowhere one of the friends, and I said in unison, "I smell bologna." After a few moments of confusion, the third person confirmed no bologna smell in the room, and neither of us have eaten bologna since childhood. This moment has haunted me for years. In high school, my friends and I would sneak out of our houses, and drive to the beach in the middle of the night. The beach is huge and we would run up and down it and splash in the water. One night, after about an hour of running around, the friend who drove realized he had lost the key at some point. The key wasn't on a keychain, it was just a single key, and we knew we would never be able to find it, and basically we were ducked. We searched up and down for an hour, but we knew ultimately we would have to call one of parents to pick us up. I sat down on the beach while someone made the call, and dug my hands deep, like 6 inches, into the sand and felt something. I grabbed it and pulled it out, it was the key. Seriously, divine intervention. A couple of years ago on Black Friday, I woke up with an eerie feeling. Like something was wrong, and just had an overall uneasy feeling that freaked me out. It was about 2 a.m. at the time, so I walked upstairs and stood in my parents' kitchen. Not even a minute later my mom walks out and asks me if I'm feeling weird. I say yeah, and that it was keeping me up. She says she is feeling the same way, and we just stand there for a minute or two in silence. Suddenly the phone rings, and it's my grandmother. Apparently my grandpa woke up, around 2 with chest pains, and was being rushed to the hospital. He was about 5% blockage away from the widowmaker, and also suffered a minor stroke. My mom and I are very close to my grandpa and grandma, but it still gives me the chills to think that we could have possibly felt something was wrong while it happened. A friend of mine was hearing weird noises underneath his house. He said he also was creeped the hell out by it, and felt weird vibes from the house. They had just moved in, but I ignored that part like a skeptic boss. I was over one time during the day, which hampers the horror movie quality of the story I guess, and he stopped me mid-sentence and alerted me to a tapping noise, then a slam. You can access underneath the house, from outside as there is a door underneath the back porch, so we go down to find it sitting wide open. There was no significant wind at all, we just stared at the door for a while, mild urination occurring as we were alone. Nothing happened for a good 15 seconds until to our complete and utter horror, we watched as the door swung closed and locked itself. The lock is a bolt that has to be pushed really firmly, through a bracket on the door frame. He tells me it still happens all the time. When I was in 6th grade, my grandfather died. I was in English class, sitting in the front row and doing my classwork. All of a sudden I felt a strong kick in the gut. Whatever happened, it was forceful enough that it made me bend over my desk in pain and brought me to tears. But it went away as fast as it came, and I was just fine a moment later. Out of curiosity, I looked at the clock in the back of the room, and it was about 10:30. I went home at the end of the school day, and found out that my grandfather, who I was very close to, as my grandparents raised me, had died around 10:30. I really wish I could have an explanation of what happened. One night in college, after a couple of beers and a few joints at a party with friends, I stumbled back to my dorm with my suitmate, my best friend of 4 years. When I awoke the next morning, I noticed that the bed was all wet and sticky. Not urine, not cum, but blood. My pillow, bed sheets and comforter were all covered in blood. The left side of my face too was caked in black, dried blood, all centered around my left ear. Panicking, I went over to my suitmate, and he said that I might have had a stroke, or something in the night and that we should probably go to the hospital. Okay, I said and proceeded to brush, and take a quick shower. There was no pain and my ear wasn't bleeding anymore. So we went to the hospital emergency room, and the doctors take one look at me, and are shocked. They proceed to tell me all that's wrong with me, my left clavicle has broken through my skin. I have a nasal fracture, a skull fracture, fractures in 2 of my vertebrae and bleeding in my brain. The blood has punctured my left eardrum, and made its way out. Additionally, the left side of my face is paralyzed. I am shocked beyond belief. My suitmate too. I have no memory, no recollection at all of what happened the night before. The hospital called the police, because they believe someone must have attacked me, and I can't remember anything. 2 Yonkers PD cops arrive and question my friend. He swears that he was in my room, while I was getting into bed. He says I was drunk and tottering on my feet, but I hadn't fallen anywhere, and no one had beaten the crap out of me. I believe him, and I think the cops did too. But they went back to my school and conducted an investigation, which consisted of questioning my friends, checking security cam footage. They found nothing. I couldn't have been beaten up, as my friend was with me the whole night, and he would have said, done something. My room was locked from the inside, and there was no way to get into the room through the window. I had no external bruising, no minor injuries except for the extremely serious ones I just listed. There was no blood anywhere in my room except for my bed. My bed too has no headboard, no protruding metal pieces, nothing. Until now, I have no idea what happened to me that night. I've mostly recovered from my injuries, but the fact that something this inexplicable happened to me is really disturbing. Thanks for watching the video. Write your opinion about this story, and don't forget to subscribe for the next videos.